Welcome back to Mac's Garage. If you like what you see here, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. I'm standing here with what we'll just call a real bad idea. I think it's a 99 Suburban. I had the title for it somewhere, it doesn't really matter. And this particular one has about 300,000 on it and has not been driven in, the tag on the back says 2007, so 14 years at this point. It sat in a storage unit up until this summer, where I drug it over to here, and now it's starting to rain now that I'm starting to try to do something outside, so that's cool. But I'll just work in the rain. I'm gonna move my impact though. Okay, so this thing's been sitting for 13 years. I call it a really bad idea because it's October today, and I think I'm gonna possibly try to winter drive this. So my first step to see if this was even remotely a decent idea was to see if the engine rolls over. I actually did it by hand because when I pulled the dipstick, there's floaty junk on there, so I didn't want to crank the starter and suck that up into the oil galleys and whatnot. So I'll have to drain the oil and change that before we even try to fire this thing. But the engine rolled all the way over a couple times with no issues. Not really compression either, but that's a problem for later. So the engine's not stuck. And honestly, an engine with 300,000 miles on it, I would have been surprised if it was stuck, because there's probably so much oil residue everywhere inside of that thing that it will never rust up. So my next step is to try to get this so it rolls. And when I moved it this summer, I got both front tires to break free, not so much the rear. I've already got a tire up, I've got it up on jack and jack stand, so we'll go to the back. So more or less what happens in the rear, and this thing is kind of a weird deal. It's super rusty in spots, and then there's things like the end of this axle shaft that's totally clean, no rust at all, metal. So if I move this around, I'm not sure if you can see it, but the drum actually moves on the axle hub. However, it won't spin, and that's because the drum is basically rust welded to the shoes inside of here. So I'm gonna go ahead and break out my sledgehammer, and I'm just gonna go ahead and give it some taps. And sometimes those light, gentle taps with the sledgehammer will cause it to, ooh, that one broke loose. So now I can feel, it feels like it's still stuck on this shoe over on this side, but the other one is moving, and you can see all the rust falling out of there, so that's always a good sign. Ooh. And I think it just broke loose. It's now actually moving. Much rather have a smaller hammer for that. Okay, so there we are. That was way easier than I thought it was going to be. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go ahead and leave that drum right off, because if I put it back on, it's going to sit in all the moisture that we've got going on right now, and it's going to rust right back into place. So that's it. This tire doesn't hold air, so I'm going to see if I can find an old junk tire that's roughly the same size to put on here. But I guess that's it. This is a much shorter video than I expected it to be. I expected to be cutting a drum off and removing it in two pieces, but that just went pretty good. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I will see you later. Hit that subscribe button.